Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that you won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show. With your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Damn right.
That's right.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino.
Have you got your oars in your boat and everything else? Because it's a coming.
You know, I just finished sealing the Ark last weekend.
With flex tape?
There you, yeah, exactly, with flex tape.
I saw that commercial the other day, and I thought, it's some weird shit that we're going to put this screen door, cover it in this goo, and put it on the bottom of a boat, and then see if it floats.
Oh, look, he's sinking. Sorry.
Well, I guess it failed.
Right.
I mean, what are the odds that they would actually show you fail, right? It's not.
Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Hey.
How many people did it take to make that commercial? I don't know. Continue on.
Hey, just want to thank everybody out there for listening to the show.
As always.
As always.
And,
don't hesitate if you can to go over to our website, ampsandaxes.com. Check out, we got only 2 banners, Amazon and the Audible.
Right.
And all the shows are there. Definitely check them out.
I can hear the Audible from here.
That's right. It's one of those days, Jeff. You know what I mean?
It is.
It's like I can understand why people in Seattle walk around a little bit of a weirdness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, oh, it's summer. Where did the summer go?
Yeah, we got the whole country. I mean, this is not the weather. This is not the weather podcast, but wherever you are, you're either burning or you're
drowning.
You're underwater. It's cut and dry in this country right now. It's either soaked or you're the hottest it's ever been.
If we could just take the right coast and dump it over onto the left coast, I think everybody'd be happy.
Yeah, it'd probably have a lot of steam.
A lot of steam. Speaking of steam, we're going to steam this right along. So.
That's right, man.
So we are, we of course, we thank you and, tell everybody to listen to the show and, friends, Romans, countrymen, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and when you do, tell your friends, and we always ask you to tell your friends, please make sure that you tell them you heard it here first.
That's right.
And not on, like Eddie Trunk show. Good God. Yeah, I'm busting on Eddie Trunk. If anybody has a problem with that, I really don't care. I don't respect that guy the way that everybody does. I don't know why. It's just he rubs me the wrong way. I don't know. What is it, Jeff? Is it me? The guy hosts everything, by the way. And and I'm not jealous of that. I think, hey, the guy's made a very good success out of what he's doing. Maybe,
absolutely,
just maybe he could knock it down a notch and not try to take credit for everything that's being done in the music world, especially in the metal world. I think that's where it rubs me.
Probably.
I don't want to get into the Eddie Trunk discussion, but that's where it rubs me because I hear a lot of me, I, and it's like, no, no, I'm sorry.
all I can say is I think the biggest fight when it comes to that is going to be between Eddie and Gene. And I'll just leave it there. So we're going to take a pause for the cause. Think that one out. We're going to take a pause for the cause and come back with our guest of the week. Now, you haven't heard this band here. Maybe you did hear her first, but it's not the only time that you've heard this band here. But we have the final guest from a band that we've now interviewed everybody from. So we're going to take a pause for the cause, come back with the guitar player and the final guest from the band Wayland, Mr. Phil Vilenski.
Hey there, this is Emily Hughes, and I'm calling in from Calgary. I've been working on several projects honoring my late father, jazz guitarist Lenny Breau. And I'm really excited to be on Amps and Axes today.
All right, and we are back as promised with our guest of this week, because it's a new week and we have a new guest, Mr. Phil Vilenski from the band Wayland. Phil, how are you?
Really good, thank you.
Excellent.
Number 4 for this band.
Number 4 for this band. Yes, that's right. And it could have come out in that order or not. We don't know. But now we've
set that precedence.
Everyone. we've interviewed everyone in the band at this point, which is cool because it's a cool band.
Yeah, and it's our first full band, across all of our interviews that we've ever done. We've always, we've interviewed guitarists and bass players. Mitch was our first singer. Yes, we've had one drummer. Now we've had 2 drummers, and we decided, expanding out is always a good thing for us.
Mitch also plays guitar, so he counts as a guitar.
That's true. Yeah.
So come on, give credit where credit is due.
It's a cool band to do that with because each member has a really individual story on how we all, kind of came to this point in our lives.
And that's cool. And you probably know by now that we're going to get that story from you. So, Phil, let's jump in the Wayback Machine and find out where Mr. Phil Vilenski came from and how you got where you are now, like into this wonderful world of music. So give us a little history.
I guess my dad's a bluegrass guitar player, so that's like the first music that I was exposed to is him playing bluegrass. Every Sunday morning, he'd get up before work in the morning at 7 a.m. on weekdays, and he'd be playing before I got out of bed while I was getting ready to go to school. He'd play in the evenings. My mom played piano, more as a hobby. She played like Patsy Cline, I remember specifically, like kind of that older country stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Motown stuff was also, my mom introduced me to Buddy Holly, and I remember the Temptations and the Supremes, Marvin Gaye.
Nice.
So, and as I got older, when you're a little kid, bluegrass music is about the most, bluegrass music and Patsy Cline both are about the most uncool music anybody could ever, you don't go to school and say, my dad plays bluegrass, in 3rd grade. It was just like, what? So I was publicly
it might be uncool, but people don't understand what kind of talent it takes to play it. Right?
As you get older, you dig that stuff. Yeah. Man, it's the coolest thing ever. But when you're a little kid, it's not cool. Right. Or it wasn't then in Wayland, Michigan, anyway. So from the time I was a little kid, I wanted to be in a band. Like, I was obsessed with it. I was obsessed with Elvis. I would sing Elvis songs nonstop, do the poses in the mirror from when I was really young. And then I heard the Beatles, and it was just like, oh, my God. Like, I remember hearing Revolution, the guitar sound.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of sucked because my first band, I started taking lessons, guitar lessons, I wanted to play, and my dad signed me up for lessons with this guy who was like super, again, not cool. Like, he was like the creepiest, weirdest guy ever. And
did your dad play in a band? Did your dad play out or just?
He played like around in the surrounding cities like Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo. Played in the bluegrass band called Heartland. Okay. We'd go to bluegrass jams on Sundays, or he'd be playing in different groups of people and stuff. And I loved it. I'd learn to sing a couple Doc Watson songs, and I would get up and do my song. Sometimes get too embarrassed and run away. If there's like another little girl my age there, It's true. It's funny. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
I got into bluegrass for the girls.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And, there was one year, I think in 6th grade, when my buddy got a drum kit for Christmas and my other buddy got a bass guitar. And I think that's what prompted me to, save my money for an electric guitar. I think my dad traded one of his acoustic guitars. He had an old Gibson J30, and he traded that for a really shitty PV electric guitar, which is my first electric. And which is so nice of him. I don't know why he did that, but then I had an electric guitar, so I could be a guitar player. We formed the band, the Albino Chickens, in 6th grade.
Nice.
Well, there you go.
We did, and we did songs like Mustang Sally, and a lot of it was weird. We all liked blues, and then the guys liked Nirvana in the band, so we did some Nirvana stuff, and it was a really bizarre set list, I'll tell you that. And I started we do some Eric Clapton, and I could never really get him to do any Beatles, but for our 7th grade talent show, we decided to do the song Cocaine by Eric Clapton.
That goes over well in school.
Well, yeah, we had an agreement, that we would change the words to insane. But of course, in the very last chord of the song, I had to say cocaine, which got me a 3-day in-house suspension.
You rebel.
I know.
Rebel.
Yeah, it's pretty badass. I had to make up for all that bluegrass I'd been listening to up till then, to repair my reputation as a badass.
That's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, but I was I was in choir, which I wanted anything to do with music. Like I had choir, and I would tell my other teachers, I was super fast at my homework and stuff. So as soon as my work was done, about 15, 20 minutes into the class, once I got into high school, I would tell the teachers that I had to go work on stuff for choir, which was a lie, but I would just get my guitar and go into a practice room and jam. I was always starting bands. If I didn't have anybody to play with, like at the time, I would find a friend that I liked, and I would talk them into buying a drum kit and get them and teach them to play the drums, or best I knew, or same thing with the bass. Or one time I had 3 girls from choir that I trained to be my backup singers. I was always trying different configurations of like a new musical venture.
I always wanted backup singers. Man.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was when I saw the movie, The Commitments, I was like, oh my God, I need backup singers, And so then when I was like a freshman in high school, I put an ad up in like the big town, which is Grand Rapids. It's like 45 minutes from my hometown, Wayland. I put ads up in all the music stores that I was looking for players. And I ended up meeting a group of guys that were like, I guess I was like 15, 16. Well, I could drive, so I must have been 16. And they were 25, which seemed so old to me. And I started playing in bars with these guys, which was like my dreams were coming true. That's how I felt. Like it felt like such a huge deal to be playing blues with these seasoned musicians.
Was it still the PV guitar?
No, by that time I'd mowed lawns for 2 summers, and I got a Fender Stratocaster.
Oh,
red
nice.
One. Yep, had a Fender Strat.
Amp? I
had a Fender Princeton 112 Plus. Was this little amp I had, and it was obviously really little Fender combo. It was a solid state, so it wasn't that good. So I started using people's Marshalls. I started borrowing Marshalls. I think I purchased a Marshall JCM 2000. That's what it was. Okay. One of those half stacks, which is generic amp, whatever. But it was bigger. Mm-hmm. And I worked all kinds of jobs. I was a waiter. I worked at Little Caesars. I mowed lawns. I was a waiter at Big Boy. I did anything I could think of and I would buy gear. I bought a whole drum kit one time and told my parents I was just borrowing it from somebody because I didn't want them to know that I had saved all my money and spent like $1,800 on an old used drum kit and cymbals. Wow. And I wasn't even a drummer, but I needed it in case I met a drummer. I basically had a whole band set up in our garage because I just needed to find players to play the stuff. I had a PA system,
awesome.
Everything.
That's awesome.
And it's this little town, Wayland, Michigan. So as soon as I graduated, I got that opportunity to join that performance group in Los Angeles. And I just really saw it as a ticket to go meet other like-minded people, to go meet other people that wanted to be musicians or pursue music in a more serious way than I had felt that the kids in my hometown.
Now, wait, did I miss something? How did you get to join a performance group in Los Angeles when you were in Wayland?
They were this performance group that came around to schools and did performances, and like you could audition when they came through. So I auditioned and made it, and there's like 2 or 3 kids made it from my town, and it was like winning the fucking lotto. It was so exciting. And out of all the kids that made it, I think I was the only. Well, no, 1 or 2 other kids went. I guess maybe 5 made it, and only like 2 or 3 of us actually went out there. And they put me right on tour in Europe. But that's where I met. That's when I met Mitch and Dean. I moved into this apartment for the summer. This is crazy, man. I moved out to L.A. I started talking to this girl that she was in that group. And she's like, yeah, come stay with me. You can stay with me. And I was like, oh, my God. I can't believe she's inviting me to stay with her. It seemed like, like there's something's going to go on. So I moved out there. The first night I was there, I literally had my guitar case and a pillow and my bag. And the first time I was there, they all took ecstasy, and they were all wearing those big giant ecstasy pants. And like, I had like smoked some weed and drank whiskey. Like I wanted to be like the Beatles, I'm smoking weed and drinking whiskey, but this ecstasy really freaked me out. And so I watched them all get totally whacked out of their minds, and they were up all night. And I woke up the next day, and this dude came upstairs. His name was Mustafa, and he said, dude, these people are fucked up here. Why don't you come down and stay with me? I got this roommate. His name's Mitch, but he's on vacation with his family back in Indiana. And he'll be back in a week or so, but come down and stay with us. So I moved in, and a week later, Mitch came home, and it was Mitch who instantly became my best friend ever. And he had already written, he's like, dude, you play guitar? And I was like, yeah. He said, will you teach me how to play guitar? And I was like, absolutely. And he knew 2 chords. He had already written a beautiful song with just C and G. And I was like I love high singers in rock and roll, like Robert Plant and stuff like that. And I have kind of a baritone voice. I was like, can you teach me how to sing like that? He's like, oh yeah, totally. It'll be easy. And I was like, holy shit, I'm going to hang out with this guy. He's going to teach me how to sing like that,
And you're going to teach him how to play guitar.
Exactly.
Yeah. He still has not taught me how to sing like that. But that was our instant bond. And we kind of just like, it was kind of just like this amazing summer where we learned like 3 songs, like Hard to Handle, Brown Eyed Girl. And he could hardly play guitar. He'd flip it over and play it like a drum for the most part, but we'd sing harmony like crazy together. And so we go down to Huntington Beach. We take the bus every day down to Huntington Beach, and we'd play on the streets. And we'd open our guitar case, and we had this whole thing that we would do. We knew we had to put a couple dollars in to get people to, if you just open your guitar case, no one will put money in. But if you look like some people are already contributing, then then people, of course, want to jump on the bandwagon. So we'd play the couple songs, close the case up, go to another corner, do it again. And it was all about timing. I remember we had it down to a science. Like we'd see people coming, we'd be like, okay, we knew we had to get into the song so we could hit the chorus by the time they got there. And it was like, it was crazy. Like the timing was so serious. And we tried to make like $80 a day, I remember. And the big reward at the end of the day was to go get a glass bottle of Mountain Dew. And
I remember this. Right. I remember this from the interview.
It was a big deal. And so then the night we
didn't hear the timing thing. The timing thing was great. It's like, okay, they got to be walking past at the chorus.
Brown eyed girl.
That's who'd have thunk that people on the streets with the guitar case open are actually thinking like that.
I mean, if you're playing some guitar solo or some intro piece when someone's walking by, you're probably not going to grab their attention,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But all that stuff, it's funny. It was grooming us for something. Like all those things we learned about timing, about how to talk to people, about being proactive, like going out and finding a way to get our music out. Even that music, it wasn't even that thing to get our talent out, to go that led to so many things, obviously, because I'm sitting here in my Prevost tour bus talking to you, but we were planting those seeds of really, we don't do things any differently now. We just we're recording, we're putting everything we have into recording a batch of demos right now because we don't, we haven't decided how we're going to make a record yet, but we don't want to stop developing these songs and making a record. And it's no different than those 2 kids that got on the bus and went down to play on the street corner to have somebody hear their harmonies,
Yeah, very cool.
It's funny how that is.
So when did it develop into more than just the duo? We'd go home every night and we'd have these parties. We were known for our parties. Like we'd get the whole place right. We lived in this disgusting apartment in a Mexican ghetto. Like both doors had fallen off. We just kind of propped them up. The carpet was stained. We'd clean it the best we didn't own a vacuum, so we weren't cleaning the carpet, but we'd wipe everything down and get ready for these parties, and all our friends would come over and stuff, and we would play for them. It's basically like having our own concert, that we planned, and we'd tell stories throughout the songs and tell about what happened to us on the beach that day, because we knew every day would be an adventure, because we just said yes to everybody because we didn't give a shit. Like someone would invite us to their house, we'd go. We'd end up hanging out with Mexican gangsters or Bloods and Crips. We'd end up at Compton one day getting my hair cornrowed in a garage. Because that's not a joke. That was a crazy story, because that night we went home and had a party, and I took mushrooms, and you have this spiritual intense time, and I looked in the mirror and my hair was cornrowed, and I freaked the fuck out. Like it wasn't even me.
I'm a blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
God, the party was spent with these girls trying to take the cornrows out as fast as they can. All gathered
while you're freaking out. The whole time you're freaking out. Yeah, right.
Holy shit, I ended up in MS-13.
What is this tattoo? Oh, damn.
So during that time, Dean was our roommate, and he was a funny guy. Him and Mitch were like complete opposites. Dean would like iron his underwear before he put it on. No joke.
Good, man. You got to feel good from the inside out, man.
I'm not kidding. He was like prim and proper, like pleated khakis with a braided belt, tucked in shirt. And I remember him saying to me, "Guys, I love you, but I will never do weed." And if you know Dean, he's done some weed. Anyway, so he was our roommate, and he was just a clown, like just a total character. He'd come down butt naked in the middle of a party with just a sock covering up his junk and sing songs to people, and just like such a huge ham, And so one time, guys, he came to us, and he was just our best buddy, and he's always in some terrible relationship with a girl, and he was trying to go to college, and he almost got an acting gig where he had to kiss a dude. And finally, he came to me. I'm sure he filled you in on that stuff, so I won't really go into detail. But he came to me about that one night, and I said, "Dude, you need to quit all this shit, man. You need to join our band. Think about it. We'll all be together. We're always together anyway. Why not just be in the band with us?" And he's like, "Oh my God." He was so scared to tell his parents. I remember him but he did. He broke up with his girlfriend. He quit college. He quit that play like the day before he was supposed to kiss that dude. And finally he told his parents that he was in the band. And we were managed by the time with this girl. She had been Courtney Love's personal assistant and nanny at the time.
Wow.
And she was a weird lady, but she looked like Lucille Ball. She literally dressed like she was from the 40s. Like, wow. It was really strange. But she bought us all clothes and had all these custom clothes made for us, and so we looked ridiculous, but we thought we were going to be in a band. Like we thought we were like it was a thing to do. I don't really know how to explain it, but it was something. We didn't have a record or anything, but we had a bunch of songs, and we were all of a sudden not playing in the streets. Now we're playing in bars.
Well, you didn't have a record, but you looked like you did.
Sure did. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So Dean joined the band, and then we ended up calling our buddy who I played with in high school. Remember I said I put up those signs? I started playing with those guys that were older than me. Well, we recorded some songs on a cassette tape, and I sent them to my buddy who by then he had moved to Texas, and he was a teacher, like a kindergarten teacher or something. I sent him the song because he goes, "You know what, dude? Fuck it." He'd only been working for a year and a half of this teaching job. He quit. He cashed in his retirement, and he used that money to buy a new drum kit, and he moved into this one-bedroom apartment with us in Orange County.
Wow.
Yeah, he was 30 at the time now, which seemed really fucking old to me. There was one point, I was 19 years old. I broke up with a girl because she was 23, and it seemed like she was just an old hag. And,
Jesus.
I'm not kidding. Carl, that was the drummer, being 30 years old, it just seemed like he was so old.
Yeah.
But
granddad on the kit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you need some oxygen?
But he was a big part because he was a blues player. He was a big part of teaching Dean about feel and taught the whole band about tempo, about practicing with a click. And he was a really big part of us growing up musically, so to speak.
Cool.
And we all lived in this 1-bedroom apartment, and it was intense. It was crazy. Like I think he slept in the kitchen. We had a bed in the kitchen where the table used to be when he moved in. And we didn't mind. We loved it.
What year was this going on? What years?
Well, I graduated high school in 2001, so I moved to LA. I toured in that touring company all over Europe and stuff. And Mitch and I wrote our first batch of songs in Ireland, and we were on tour. We'd go to bars in the morning and find a corner, and we'd write songs, and we'd play them for the parties, that performance group at night. You know, then finally we were having so much fun together. They kind of basically threatened to separate us on these tours. And we said, well, we're only interested. We're only doing it to write music with each other. Like, we realized that's all we want to do. We want to do it as a career. I remember one time we were on the LA bus. We were on the city bus in LA coming back from the beach, and Mitch called his mom to tell her that we were going to be musicians as a career. And she cried her fucking eyes out. I mean, she was so upset. And now she's front row in our shows, dancing her ass off, and she loves it. But that was it. Oh my God! Like all those. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. But.
That's okay. So you're saying early 2000s is when you guys were really slumming it hard in LA, right? Yeah. Well, that's a different cry than what it would have been back in the 80s. I mean, you hear about a lot of the bands, the metal bands in the 80s and all, the glam bands, whatever. Those guys were like, living in storage sheds and stuff, but it was a different town then.
Right, because there's money floating around.
Yeah,
bands to get signed.
And there's serious homeless camps now. In L.A. and I'm sure they were around then too, right?
Oh yeah,
man.
And
you guys were just like right on the edge there. That is
we were
crazy.
One step away. Like literally, we were in government housing. They did your your rent was based on how much you made, and we made nothing. Mm-hmm. So our rent was like, I think it was like $340 a month, and we could hardly come up with that.
Wow.
Yeah. And like all of our neighbors would bring us groceries from their churches and their drives, like bags of old bread and shit all the time. And again, it didn't even faze us. We weren't sad. We were happy as hell. And we were writing songs, and we were feeling like we felt like we were like, well, today's probably the last day I'm going to have this can of green beans for dinner. Because tomorrow we'll probably get signed. Like that's always how we felt. Like we still feel that way. It's like, well, it's probably the last time playing this venue tonight because we'll probably play arenas next time we come through Chicago. Like that's kind of, I don't know if it's
a good attitude.
Or
if you don't have that attitude, you can't continue down that road. You can't.
Well, you'll start hating.
Right. It'll be self-defeating.
Yeah.
With what we do, it's a constant. When you live within a small group of guys, whether it be in a small apartment or a tour bus or whatever, you're in this like spiritual mirror at all times where you have to look at yourself and you have to constantly say, why do I do this? Who am I doing it for? What am I doing it for? What do I expect the outcome to be? Like at a core level, your intentions have to be on the table. And as soon as someone's intentions sway, it's really fucking obvious.
Mm. Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
So. Sure, yeah, it totally does.
Because it's just so intimate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it forces you to look at yourself all the time. You can't get away with being a shitty person or being selfish, or again like having the wrong intentions. Because you know it yourself if you're not playing along.
Sure,
it's like someone playing in a different key when you play a song. So
wait, that's wrong.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's go back. So you had there were
always all these characters. I wish we would have had trading cards for the people that came in and out of our lives. From promoters to managers to other band people to, even to women in our lives that came in. We could never keep a group of friends in LA because we lived like we were on the road. Except we didn't go to the next town the next day. So like you fuck all your friends, you know, or your friends' girlfriends or whatever, and you're still all there living in that apartment complex the next day. that got to be a bit of a problem.
Yeah, right. Right. But so what was your gear like then? You know, you had the clothes. You didn't have a record. You had the clothes though.
Yeah,
you know,
I had gotten a double cutaway Les Paul, which they don't make. I don't think they make those anymore. They're super thin. Do you know what those are?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was the double cutaway Les Paul, and then
it's not the Junior though. I had a quilted.
No, it was named the SG after that.
Well, no, it wasn't an SG. It was like round. It's different. I think Carlos Santana might. There's definitely.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Carlos Santana played one in the 70s a lot.
It's a different era, but I know what you're talking about. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I had one of those, and I got myself another Les Paul, like a Burst Standard. I ended up selling that. I sold that Fender Strat. I think I traded it for the Paul, and I played out of a Marshall half stack. I think it was that JCM 2000 I still had. Yeah, and Mitch played a Fender Deluxe combo, and he used like these Epiphone SGs and Epiphone Les Pauls. He never really had a good guitar through that time, and I remember we were playing the Whiskey a Go-Go, and then one year for Christmas, my parents, they had stumbled across a guy in Kalamazoo, Michigan that sold my dad a 1965 ES 335.
Well, there you go.
Played, yeah, wow. And that was my Christmas gift one year, and that's what I always wanted because I love Chuck Berry, I love Keith Richards, I love the Black Crowes, which Rich Robinson has one of those. You know, I love Freddie King. Like all my heroes play a 335, and so that was that's all I drooled over. I dreamed of. That's all I talked about. And the one year I got that, so that joined the arsenal.
And that's the one that's in the videos, right?
Yeah, yep. I still play it quite a bit.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
And Mitch and I had matching Taylor 710s. I'd gotten one in 10th grade. I remember I opened it for Christmas. It was the year I wanted. No, it was not the year I wanted a car. The year I wanted a car, thought I was getting a car, and all my friends got cars. I got a mandolin. I was so pissed.
Well, that's similar.
So mad.
Similar.
Well, you know what? I still have the mandolin. I still play it. I would not have a 1996 Grand Am. You know, if that's the got me. But the year I got that Taylor, I was in high school. I remember seeing the case. They brought it in. I thought, oh my God, they got me a case for this Washburn acoustic I've been playing. They got me this really nice Taylor case. I was so thankful because I had this shitty case and it was stressing me out. They're like, no, open it up. And I opened it up and there's a Taylor 710 in there. Wow. It was back when Taylors are still made by Bob Taylor. You know, it was like from the mid-90s. Yeah. So I still have it. It's on the road with us right now. I love that thing.
Wow.
That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. So, I mean, the gear has changed a lot. Now I have the best gear now.
Well, what are you using for an amp? What's your amp? Marshall?
Right now, no. Right now, I use an Echo Park. And Echo. Do you know that brand?
I do know the name.
Yeah, Echo Park. They build guitars and amps, and they use Queens of the Stone Age uses their stuff. Yeah. Blackberry Smoke, Joe Bonamassa, Joe Perry.
Okay.
And it's a 20-watt amp. It only has 2 knobs, a tone and a volume, and it is just the most gorgeous, perfect voice. It's like the real sound of your guitar. I love this thing. I got to go to Detroit where they make them. I got to hang out with Gabriel, the owner, for the day, and it was just a really magical time. Before that, I was endorsed by a company called Friedman with Dave Friedman.
Sure,
we know Friedman.
And he had sent me an amp while we were recording the album Rinse and Repeat. He gave me a Dirty Shirley, which is like a 40-watt, 1-channel.
A couple more knobs than your Echo Park.
Yeah, it's a couple more knobs. But what's funny about that amp is that even no matter what you do to turn the knobs, none of them really do anything. It just kind of still, that Friedman sounds like it does anyway, which is very Marshally. But over the years, I've gone through Voxes. I guess it's about. I had a couple of Silver Jubilees from the '80s. I've gone through 2 of those, which I love. Those are cool amps. You know, again, I kind of go after what my heroes use, like Joe Bonamassa, Rich Robinson in the early '90s, and the Crows. He used those. Mm-hmm. So
those were a part of Joe's arsenal for years.
Yeah. Now he's got all those little combos, but that was always what he was using.
Yeah. Well, not quite little combos, but
right. Yeah, they're loud as hell, aren't they?
Yeah, now he's got two Tweed Twins and 2 Tweed Basements.
That'll do it.
Most of the time what he's using at this point.
Yeah.
So,
and I've got so Echo Park's been good. I love that company. I just love this amp. I love it. And for pedals, I got all kinds of stuff. I can't even really remember without looking at them. I try to I always start with just my guitar, and I only add pedals what I need. But then it ends up being quite a bit. But I'm always switching out fuzzes and just I love that company, Analog Man. I love JHS out of Kansas City. I think they're just great. What's the one that makes the Julia? What's that? Walrus Audio. They're fantastic. There's so many cool pedal companies, man.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Analog Man was absolutely one of the original pedal modders, and then starting to come out with some. Man, he has been around. Absolutely one of the originals. I can't remember how far back I knew of him, but man, it goes back a minute and a half. It's just.
That's how I found them. Is I scour reverb.com for modded pedals. I love modded pedals. I love to find a pedal that does what no one else's pedal does. I think that's so cool. I've had a couple different phase shifters and what's the small stones where they've been modded.
Yeah. Who you had? You should talk to is a guy that's been on our show twice. Is Johnny Balmer from Alchemy Audio, because that's all he does. That's all he does, man, is mod pedals. And
really?
He repairs them, but he does mods too. And what did he do, Jeff? He did the preamp for the Lab Series, right? When at the L5,
yes, he worked with somebody else that did the preamp for that. Yeah. There was something else he did too. But yeah, he's been doing pedal mods for quite a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Alchemy. Check out Alchemy.
Yeah, man.
I will. Yeah,
he's a great guy.
Stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and Mike it's Mike Piera from Analog Man. Yeah, It's Mike, and he's been doing it for forever, ever.
Yeah, I love those fuzzes, and I love that. I used that King of Tone for a long time. I recently just took it off my board because Echo Park sent me this thing called a dual sonic overdrive or something, and it just really. Again, what I love what they're about over there is just like the true natural saturation of the guitar and the circuit in between and pushing it out through a speaker, and they really try not to get in the way of that. And I love that. It's forced me to clean up my playing in a lot of ways because there's nothing to hide behind. There's not a bunch of crap.
Exactly.
I could overdrive that Friedman so that I could play anything and it sound like classic rock. But with this Echo Park, it's it has to be my fingers and my touch. They have to do with it. And Gabriel kind of turned me on to single coil pickups, which I'd never really used before. I was always a 335 guy. I've got the Black Beauty Les Paul Custom. I've got other bursts. I've got I got a Firebird, which I guess is kind of single coil. Not really though. But so I really want to get an Echo Park guitar, but in the meantime, I've got that guitar builder Nash.
Yes,
I've got a Nash, a Bill Nash Telly that I love. It's a 52 reissue. It's got the humbucker up by the neck, like Keith Richards saying, and it's all. So I love that, and I've got a Strat that somebody built me. It's got the reverse headstock, kind of a Hendrix thing. It's got Lowler pickups. I'm just seeing how much more expression you can get out, and I'm like, okay, what else can I take out of my circuit so I'm not hiding behind it? And it forces me to be more expressive on the guitar, and it's just it's addicting.
Well, see, I mean, the thing with like single coils that were really, really low output humbuckers is there's so much more definition that you can get out of that, and that translates what you're playing, what your left hand and your right hand, it comes out with more definition. You can gain it up and you can do anything you want after that. But if it doesn't start with that, there's no way to get it back. So it's really got to start at the guitar. And you can take that anywhere you want, but if you really want definition and you want the nuances that you're playing with and making, that's not going to come from really hot humbuckers. It has to come from something that's really subdued and has the right response, and then you can take that and do anything else you want with it afterwards, or nothing at all. It's like, I want it just this natural, right to the speaker.
That's why some guys use Seth Lovers, because they don't pot them. So you can't put a ton of gain on them because they'll feed back. And
well, yeah, but they're also not really high output pickups.
No, nothing.
The original PAFs, the good sounding PAFs, are pretty damn low output.
Yeah, they were.
They're humbucker, but they're pretty damn low output, and that's why all the jangle comes out of those. You can't get out of a hot humbucker.
Yeah, and that process they do to them actually pulls more than what they were when they were, like they took the old ones, which they measured, and they were like, well, they have less than when they were made new, because of over years, I guess the magnetic field gets weaker.
Yeah, it does.
And of course, then that sound does that magic mojo thing, that they bake in a I don't know, a barometric chamber or something. And make that magic, with those pickups. But Jeff, it sounds like he should cruise to eastamplification.com and check out one of your amps, brother.
It's not quite as open as the one thing that's probably as closest to that we used to make when I was doing the Buddha thing was the Twin Master, because that was you did
Buddha stuff.
Yeah, Scott and I started that company. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
You're talking to the man.
Oh, okay. We went down to Nashville one time and met with them, and we were gonna actually the guys in Blackstone Cherry introduced us to them, and we were gonna
there you go.
We were gonna get a bunch of amps, and I played a 20-watt amp there that sounded awesome. It was a 20-watt head.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it was called, and we were gonna do that, but we didn't do it because Dean didn't want to play the PV bass amp. So it's like if we all didn't do it, then they wouldn't take.
Was that that's the 6V6? Was that the 20?
I don't remember what it was.
It's probably the V20.
The V20.
He already had an amp. He didn't really want to switch, and then the whole thing fell apart. But
yeah, that was the post early Buddha days.
Okay,
that's after the people in Meridian, Mississippi, gained ownership of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we started that in '95. Actually.
Wow, I've always loved those amps, man. That's really cool.
Thank you. And the closest thing to what you have now is probably my original Twin Master, which was volume, treble, bass. That was it. 2 different inputs, lower and higher gain.
And loud as hell.
Loud as hell for 18 watts. And it's like whatever guitar you were playing and however you were playing it, that's what was coming out of the speaker.
That's interesting because I'm just learning now that wattage has nothing to do with volume.
True. Well, it does to some degree, but not what people think.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think, okay, if I'm getting a 100-watt amp, it's going to be way louder than this 20-watt amp.
Nope.
And that does not seem to be the case.
True.
Not at all.
There are plenty of 20-watt amps out there. I mean, people that were playing the early Twin Masters, like it was an 18-watt amp, and they buy a head, they hook it up to their 412, and it's like, okay, this is louder than my other guitar's 50-watt Marshall.
Yep.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
and I've got a Super Drive 45 that Jeff gave me, and that thing, I use it to get barnacles off of a boat.
Wow.
Because it will peel the paint right off of whatever you want, man. It is a beast.
Got a couple of nads behind it.
That thing is, when you have a fan that runs across your power tubes that you hear kicking on your tube head, you got something breathing under there, man. And let me tell you, this is without a doubt the loudest amp. And I had that Mesa Boogie, that dual rectifier that you even modded for me, Jeff, and made it louder. This 45, it just has so much percussiveness in it. It feels like it is louder than that dual rectifier ever was.
Mm-hmm. It's just a whole different frequency range. That's why.
Yeah, I guess because it's more clarity too. There's no mud in there because there was a lot of mud in that dual recto.
So what power is the amp that you're playing right now, Phil?
It's 20 watts.
Oh, it's 20 watt. Okay,
They gave me one that was 40. We went and played the machine shop in Flint, Michigan that night, and I couldn't even turn it up past like 1.5. And so I called them the next day, and I was like, hey, I can't even – because, when you listen to it at their place, they turn it up all the way, and it's freaking glorious. I was like, oh, my God, yes. And I got there, my sound guy's like, hell no.
Exactly.
So he turned it down, and it couldn't get any tone out of it. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, well, the only so that's – I think the only guy that they had given one of those to that uses it's Joe Perry. So that makes sense. He plays different venues than I do,
A little bit.
Not for long, but no.
No, I mean, what you use has to be venue appropriate. If all your sound isn't coming from processors and front end gain, if you're really a guy that gets tone from the output stage of the amp, then that amp power wise has to be venue appropriate. It just has to be.
Yeah, so I got really lucky. When I went back the next day, they had an amp in there that they had first made for Charlie Starr, who was the guitar player for Blackberry Smoke.
Yeah,
who's one of my favorite guitar players. And it was his. It says C Star on the back. And they said, yeah, he had us mod it and put in a master volume in the back here. And I was like, really? Can I hear that? And that allows me to back it off just a little bit, which makes our front of house guy Dallas a lot more comfortable. So they let me take that amp with me.
Oh, cool.
That's something that was so cool about them. I saw Charlie Starr playing their amps when we opened for Blackberry Smoke in Florida. So I went and bought the same amp on reverb.com. The amp was like super weird. It was super clean. I couldn't get anything out of it at all. I was so disappointed. So I called them. I said, I don't know if this thing has the wrong tubes in it or what, but something is up. Or no, I wrote them online, just on their website. They wrote me right back. They said, come on in, bring that thing in. Let's get it sounding right. Which they didn't have to do. It wasn't their responsibility. I bought it online, you know what I mean, from someone else. They opened it up. They're like, oh my God, someone got in here and made all these modifications to this thing. And this is not even what this amp is supposed to be anymore. And they said, so you take this one basically, and we'll deal with this mess. And I mean, that is like the coolest thing anybody could ever do, you know?
Hell yeah.
For real. Yeah. It's like, when you build amps and then you get a call or an email or a text from somebody that says, hey man, I got this amp. What the hell's up? It's just, this is not what I expected from one of your amps. And you get it and somebody's like mucked it up terribly. And it's like, well, yeah, no, it doesn't sound like what it's supposed to sound like. And it happens all the time. You just, there's no way you can stop it from happening. But it's like you don't like that amp to go out with your name on it.
Right,
and somebody else
sense.
Just messed it up inside. It's like, no. That's not even what it's supposed to be anymore.
Yeah,
but you can't stop it. People are, there's more and more people every day, wielding a soldering iron that maybe shouldn't be.
I bet that's really frustrating to an amp builder. That makes sense.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? You can't do anything about it.
So, so the amp you have, is that the Vibramatic 13?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
So it's clean. It's 13 watts, Jeff, and pushed. It's 19 watts. So they got. I guess it's.
But they added the master volume in the back for me.
Oh, okay, and yeah.
I don't think they're not making amps anymore. I think they're kind of switching gears, and they kind of started another company called NARB or something that's going to do the amps.
Oh, okay.
Something like
cool.
that.
It's a cool looking little amp, man.
Well, yeah. NARB. If it's. I'm sorry to interrupt. If it's NARB, they bought that name. Or managed to get the trademark on the name because the trademark probably fell off because nobody was using it since the 60s. I don't know if anybody's owned it since the 60s. The NARB originally was amps that Ken Brand, the designer for Marshall, used to make for a smaller market. That couldn't sell Marshall or didn't want to sell Marshall, and it's pretty much a Marshall clone because he's the guy that designed Marshall, but he could put the Marshall name on it. NARB is Ken Brand's last name, Brand spelled backwards.
Oh wow,
that's NARB.
They're doing it now, and I don't know the details, so I don't want to screw it up, but I know that he's got this amazing amp collection when you go in their office there. And basically, like when he was telling me about my amp, he was like, okay, so that is the high end of this Fender Brownface and the mid-range from this Marshall, whatever over here. Like, I forget what it was that he basically, and that's how he makes his amps is kind of finds the different, characteristics of his favorite amps. Yeah. And it is a cool... The guy that's doing the amps over there, he was like Stone Temple Pilots' main tech for years during like the big years of that band. So he had some amazing stories.
I'm sure.
Cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was such an amazing experience. The owner, Gabriel, is just like, I mean, it's like almost he's spiritual about guitars and about amps and about tone. And his partner, Eric, there, like I said, he literally took my amp and stayed up all night and rebuilt the whole thing overnight so that one could be ready for me to go out because we were on tour and because that other one didn't work for me. I mean, it was just really cool, you know.
That's awesome.
I think that kind of love put into it makes the amp sound better to me, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's got good mojo.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether you believe it or not, I think it starts there. You know, people have said, you know, over the years, people have had these theories just like, well, amps sound different depending on where they're made. You know, like Ken Fisher's Trainwrecks sounded like they did because they were made in North Jersey, you know, and it's just weird stuff. And some of it may have some, you know, validity and some not. Who knows? You know?
Humidity, you know, the humidity at the time, I guess. Who knows?
Who knows?
You know,
well, there's energy in everything we do. And yes. that intention you put into something, I think does affect the outcome. There's no question, whether that be making music, why are you in the band? Why are you playing a song? You know, that if you're doing it to get laid, the music's probably going to come across different than if you're doing it to, you know, reach people's hearts, you know, and affect their lives.
True.
Hey, you know what? That's a good note to go out on.
I believe it. Phil, anything we haven't touched on yet? Any kind of endorsements? Any kind of touring that you know anything about?
Yeah, I mean, we've been really lucky this year. GHS Strings has become such a strong partner with this band, and we just, you know, I'm from Michigan. Again, they're made in Battle Creek, which is so freaking cool. I've also gotten to partner up with Heritage Guitars out of Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Sweet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's.
Oh, you mean the original cool Gibson?
Right.
Yeah, they're made in the Gibson factory.
Yes, they are by the original people.
I love those guitars.
Me too. I got a big, beautiful. It's like a 335 looking thing, Sun Tobacco Burst, and we went out to NAMM to play for them in their booth, which is really neat.
Really?
Yeah,
we were there.
And I was playing the 335 and the Les Paul that they had in the Heritage booth. Fell in love with them.
Yeah.
We performed on those guitars in their booth one day.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Wow, probably walked right past each other.
Yeah,
probably.
you know.
Yeah.
So like I said, with GHS Strings, with Echo Park, with Heritage, they've just been so cool to us, and
awesome.
We couldn't be more thankful.
Yeah, man.
That's great, man.
I love partnering with good companies. It's just it makes it fun. It's fun to post each other's stuff online, and you know, I've been using GHS Strings since I was a little kid because when you live in Michigan and you go to the local guitar shop, that's what they have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so to go throughout my career and all the places I've been all over the world and use whatever, you know, and really get to choose what strings I want to play. It's been really cool to be like, wow, the ones I used in the albino chickens in 7th grade are the guitar strings I want to use today.
Nice.
And, you know, they're good friends of ours, you know, and we can't say enough about those guys because.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nice to have when companies, you know, they get behind the bands and stuff because, man, we need more of it. It's just it's one of those
great
things
people to work with.
Yeah.
It goes back to what we were saying. I mean, it makes the music better. It makes the whole experience of what we do better. I mean, when you're out here, you know, that's the consistent part of our lives is walking on stage and feeling my guitar and playing those songs and hearing my amp, and like that gear becomes our furniture in our living room because every day we're in a different place, and that's all we know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's a team thing, you know.
Yeah.
So where you're on the bus today? Did you say where are you?
Yes, we are in Madison, Wisconsin today. It's been so cool. The studio, Megatone Studios in Madison, Wisconsin. They opened the doors to us. Actually, gave us the key for the last 3 days so we could work on these. Demos. We did the bass and drums in Atlanta, Georgia, at Jesse Dupree's studio from Jackal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up doing guitars in different basements across America with what do you call that? I did most guitars in someone's laundry room on a, what's that? It's a digital amp, the Kemper.
Oh,
okay.
Which actually sounds freaking awesome. I mean, it's crazy how good that. And I thought they were just going to be kind of like, okay, well, we'll just put some, you know, I'll replace them later. But they end up sounding so good. I did the solos with my Echo Park, but
nice.
And we got to Denver. We ended up putting vocals down and a bunch of guitars, at Evergroove Studios in Evergreen, Colorado. They let us use the room for a couple days.
That's cool.
And now here we are. Yeah, it's like, it's so cool that we kind of set the intention to develop these songs. Mitch and I went to L.A. For the first week of May. We wrote a song a day with different people. We co-wrote. We wrote with people that write pop music. We wrote with a soul guy. We wrote with Kevin Martin, lead singer of Candlebox. Like all these different kind of, if you put them in a room together, you'd call them random people. But we came home with came out with a bunch of Wayland songs, and the band met in Atlanta and rehearsed for a couple of days to work them up. And so now we've just been recording as we go, and we just finished a bunch of 3-4 part harmony on these songs and some random percussion. And our front of house sound guy's actually been engineering the whole thing, and it's honestly turning out to sound more like our band than anything we've ever recorded.
That's so cool.
Wow, that is cool.
We've never had the balls to do something. We've always felt like we needed a producer, or I don't know what, but it's been such a like almost, I hate to use the word team building, but it's true to have the four of us in a room with everybody's creative input and everyone listening to each other and everyone trying each other's ideas and then everybody letting things go, and it's like it's made the band and crew closer than we could have ever been. This process is really neat.
And then in a lot of situations or circumstances, it sounds like, you're just at the right time, you're able to hit record and just, okay, let's get this down because it's sounding really good.
Well, yeah. You're in a room with all your friends.
Right.
Yeah. All your friends are there. It's all cool. There's not some weird producer or an engineer you don't know that's pissed or whatever the situation, because we've been through it all, all these awkward times, someone out watching the clock, or whatever. Yeah. And it's just the energy behind it's been so good. And I looked at Dean today and I said, dude, this sounds like the kind of record I want to put out. It started out as demos, but who knows? I mean, we have to, at some point, we got to get these out there to everybody because it's just too fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. A dude came and put a bunch of Rhodes and organ on it today.
Oh, there you go.
God.
I mean, even if, even if you do wind up using that to put out, I mean, even if you take what's there right now and add little embellishments or fills or things just to, the bright and shiny that makes it what people expect, I think the core of it and the energy of that core is still going to remain intact.
You're exactly right. It won't, you know what? I want to send this to Dave Cobb or Butch Walker. Those are our two dream producers. If they, oh my God, I'm a huge Butch fan. And actually, we sent some demos to Butch about a month ago, and he wrote back and said he loves Mitch's voice. He's just super swamped right now, and he's gonna, he wants to talk later. So that was a huge moment.
That's better than stop stalking me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's positive.
He was cool with us taking the pictures by his pool. Yeah, all that.
Hey, we saw you last night showering.
Yeah. No, let's say Dave Cobb latched onto it and he wanted to re-record all of it. All this time developing these parts and this camaraderie and all this, it wouldn't go to waste. That's for sure.
Oh, hell no.
Because it still was a step that we've never taken before. And I always want to do this. Like it's a whole new world to us.
That's cool.
Well, that's very cool.
That is cool. Well, much continued success with it.
Yes. Thank you guys.
I hope it goes exactly where you want it to go and even further.
Yeah, man.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I hope we get to meet up with you guys sometime.
Yeah, if you get to this part of the world, we'll definitely come out and see you. But also the NAMM show stuff. If you're there,
Are you guys in LA?
We've done it 2 years, and now this year we'll probably come. Yeah.
We'll probably go back out again. I'm not going to do summer. I'm too busy to do summer. Yeah. But
where are you located?
Just outside of Baltimore.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool.
So we go to the farthest one.
Yeah, right. Because that makes sense.
Yeah. We'll fly over Nashville. Just keep going.
Yeah. Well, it's the bigger one anyway.
It is.
Knows that. Yeah.
It is. I mean, Nashville's cool too.
Yeah, man.
But, all right, Phil, thank you so very much, man, for taking the time, and much continued success, safe travels. And, hopefully we catch you in the Northeast one of these days.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Great talking to you.
Thank you.
Likewise, Phil. Take care, man. Have a great evening. And there you have the story.
And the fourth and final one for that band, man. And how cool is that? I really wish those guys a lot of luck. And we gotta, I'll keep the little, I always
been
like
through
to,
a lot together.
Yeah,
So,
I always like to keep the little, every now and then just roll. Hey, how's everybody doing? I do that thing because you never know, right?
Right.
And,
for
and
sure.
it's always good. It's sort of like when we interviewed Tim Pierce, how he says he likes to make friends with the people that he works for. So, we always keep a little nugget just right there. So when we reach out, they don't go, who the hell is this? It's not, yeah.
That was 8 years ago. What?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But it's all good, man. It's all good.
It's a very cool story with those guys and just literally from the streets,
Yeah.
to really making some headway and hopefully I'm excited about this new album. I'd really want to hear it,
Yeah, it sounds like they're having a lot of fun making it and making it in a different way than they've done it before. So that's cool. Maybe it'll be something that's if it just has the spark that's needed, because sometimes there's a lot of luck involved. Mm-hmm. But if you believe
the product and you sell it
right,
the right way, it comes across that way, Right.
And sometimes it's just that little bit of extra something, secret sauce, love, energy, whatever you call it.
However you want to put it.
Puts it right.
Exactly. And that timing bug has always been a mystery. Sort of like these podcasts.
That's true. Always a mystery.
Always a mystery. I get, we get some guys and I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be a crazy week. And then we go, what happened? I don't know. The internet turned off or something. I don't know. It's the strangest thing. But hey, we still get to do it. And that's the cool part, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So until next time, my friend.
When we'll do it again. Bring you a new mystery.
Especially to me. I'm Mick Marcelino.
That's right. And I'm Mysterious Jeff Bober.
And we're always saying, brother.
Onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @AmpsandAxis. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxiscast.com. Thanks for listening.